And listeners, it's always fun for us to bring back repeat guests. And we've got Stephen Valentin here with Growers, and he's going to tell us a little bit more than he did last time. There's been a lot of updates, hasn't there, Stephen?
Yeah, quite a few.
Let's remind the listeners first who you are, and then we'll dive into what Growers is.
Sure. So I am the CEO and founder of Growers. We're a technology company based out of Durham, North Carolina that serves the ag retail, distribution, manufacturing, and farmer sector of agriculture, which is about all of it.
Yeah, no kidding. So what did you do up until this role?
So I started Growers 13 years ago. So I've been doing this for about that long. And then before that, I owned a private soil testing lab. So I ran that's where my kind of background is in agronomy and soil science. And before that, I was in the military. So I've been running and operating my own business since I got out of the military.
That's exciting. That's not something everybody gets to say that they do. So, hey, congrats, or maybe not congrats. Some days I'm sure it may feel like that. But welcome back to the podcast. Remind everybody what is new with Growers.
Yeah, so late in Q4, we launched a product called the Growers app, which was pretty important for us because we've been serving farmers kind of directly in a couple core geographies. It's been kind of like what we call our legacy business, keeps us very in touch with the farmers. And then we've been serving, retail and distribution on the technology side. And so we did a bunch of kind of work in Q3 and then launched this product very quietly actually in Q4. And it's called the Growers app, and it's actually connecting farmers to their retail counterparts. We launched it in South Dakota to kind of like test a few things out, and then got some really good reception and response. And then kind of immediately in first week of January, launched in Illinois. It kind of began to pick up more speed, and then the last week of January we expanded into Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, and Missouri, which are our big geographies that we're focused on right now. And then kind of next will be North Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, and then kind of moving towards the Delta. So we've just been sort of following the momentum, and have been really excited about this because it's kind of the first time we got to connect both sides of our business, the farmers that obviously we care a lot about servicing and have been, to the retailers that we work with on the Growers Rally platform, which is what we talked about last time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And if our listeners don't remember that, you got to go back almost exactly a year to grab that What's Working in Ag segment. And this is fun to bring it full circle, because I know not only with my co-host Corey, but then also with the customers that I have, that input season can really take a toll on you. And you're trying to call multiple retailers. You understand you've got one that you might trust or do most of your business with, but you still want to keep them honest. And this is a tool to really put things into perspective and add a convenience factor to it.
Yeah, so it's like interesting to note, right, that 94% of farmers, including myself, work with more than one retailer, right? And so that means that they are managing this process in kind of all of the most archaic ways that you can imagine, but really all they have available to them is text messages, emails, copious amounts of phone calls. And we, just given our background in rooting as a technology company, said, hey, look, I think this is a really interesting way for us to take what we built on the Growers Rally platform, essentially invert it, and allow farmers to send requests to whatever retailer they want to do business with, and just really provide that convenience and ease of use that takes a process that we had one producer say it takes him 3 weeks to kind of compile this and send it out to the retailers and wait for responses. He did it in about 30 minutes and got everything back from all of the retailers that he wanted to work with in about 3.5 days. So we're just trying to be that conduit that makes it easier for farmers to work with, who they want to do business with.
Yeah, and that's probably key, because you're saying that we send this out, but we get to choose which retailers we send it to, right?
Yeah, so that's the kind of the unique thing about it, is that just like you could send a text message to whatever retailer you want, provided you had their phone number, we're not being restrictive in that in any way, shape, or form, right? We want to be a conduit for farmers to do business with who they want to do business with. But on the flip side of that equation, we also wanted to go one step further and create what we called the Growers Retail Network. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is that we wanted to make sure that our customers, the farmers that are engaging with us and downloading our application, are being connected with reputable retailers when they make a request, right? It's a bad experience if they log in and they're like, lobbing their requests out, not getting anything back. So we kind of first established, again, we had a great relationship with a lot of local retailers, established a network. So that way, and that's why we've been kind of in this methodical expansion, is that I want a farmer when he logs in to get connected to a bunch of retailers, or at least the retailers in his region that can serve him. And that, the flip side of that is there's a tremendous value proposition for the retailers, right? And that we are actually spending our sales and marketing dollars to acquire customers that then we can introduce and convert into their customers. So it really is like a mutual win-win, and that's what's been probably kind of the coolest thing to see about it is the retailer reception to it.
So a lot of our listeners by this time of year have probably got most of their inputs lined up. Now, we might still be talking some in-season nitrogen application, maybe some cover crop seed, maybe we're looking at some fungicide decisions coming down the pipe. That would probably be a good opportunity for someone to get acquainted with the app. How long does it take to get some information back?
So the farmers are in control of that. I mean, they can set their own expiration date on the request, right? So if it's an in-season thing and you're trying to get an order out pretty quick, you can say, hey, look, you can put a 24-hour time limit on you want. Or if you've got time and you're sending it out to maybe multiple retailers, you can go up to 14 days. Inverse of that is retailers also have an expiration too, just given the fluidity of the pricing. So pricing's only good from a retailer for a certain amount of time. But yeah, you're absolutely right. When we launched in the first week of December, we did get a lot of initial big orders, but then we also there was also a lot of I don't know, this is a very critical time to purchase inputs. I don't want to mess this up. It wasn't really the best time to test things from a farmer standpoint. And so, that's the kind of the neat thing about this is that, I'd probably say 70 to 80% of most inputs are kind of, committed or booked already, but there's always last minute changes, things that are going to happen in season. It'd be a great opportunity, especially on the CP side, to engage with, some retailers and use the app to kind of connect those two parties, and then get a lot more comfortable with it going into the fall, maybe prepay fertilizer season, things like that. We're still seeing seed, fertilizer, and chemical, but it's certainly not in the quantities that we saw in December.
Right. So when you guys are kind of analyzing how this first season went for you, and you're starting to prepare for next year's ramp up, what are some goals? Are you guys trying to expand the territory? What does that look like?
Yeah, we're really focused on, increasing, farmer and retailer density, right? It's those are things that are important to both parties. We've got a lot of really great collaborations going with retailers, right? That are using this as a tool to expand their geographies and want to grow their business and really increase the amount of customers they can serve from an overall lower cost of on a per transaction basis. So our goals beyond the territory expansion that I mentioned, Nebraska, North Dakota, Kansas, and then kind of down into the Delta is sort of what we have in Q2. It's really just going to be on increasing density of farmers inside that existing geography, which we're kind of probably going to contain in 2023 to the kind of core Corn Belt, Northern Plains is what I would call it, and that's just predominantly because of the existing relationships we have in that geography as well. But there's a ton of things that we're doing in the platform that I think are really, really cool to add value on the farmer side, which, if you can imagine, just the ease and the convenience of tracking all of these transactions and tracking all of these inputs in one spot, being able to compile that data, recall it year over year. So once we start to acquire more than a year's worth of data, there's some really cool things we can do for farmers in terms of exporting that into some of their financial record keeping software. And then there's a long list of things that we're doing on the retail side to just continue to add value and enhance the experience that they have, as well as working with manufacturers that want to leverage the platform to help educate and inform farmers on the benefits of their products.
I like that. And for our listeners too, is there a cost to downloading this?
Nope, it's completely free for the farmer, and where we make our money is on a subscription fee that we charge to the retailers.
Nice. Well, that's a good way to test it out.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, it's just stupid simple. We wanted to reduce any friction whatsoever for farmers to get signed up, and I feel like we've successfully accomplished that. And then we've made the cost on on the retailer side, where from an ROI standpoint, it's pretty much a no-brainer.
I love this too. And then I had remembered, and I couldn't remember if it was a conversation we had last year, if it's just been in the conversations we've had with growers. You've also got opportunities if somebody needs help financing, correct?
Correct. Yeah. We have a couple existing relationships, and we're actually trying to bring those into the platform to just kind of make that all happen in flow. Because one of the reasons, right, that retailers are working with a lot of their, farmers are working with a lot of their retailers or cooperatives has to do with some of the financing offerings that they have. And so if you already have those in place and they're existing, great, right? We want you to continue to utilize those. If you're looking for, especially now with crazy interest rates, like access to capital is becoming kind of one of the critical determining factors of success, or at least profitability. So access to capital is going to be critically important, and like missionally, that's what we're trying to do here at Growers, is provide farmers access to the things that they need to be successful. And you really can't talk about inputs without capital. And so it was a natural evolution for us to include that in the platform, and that's one of the things that you can expect to see on the farmer facing side of the application here later this year. So we're really excited again about just connecting all of these things and just making it stupid simple.
I love this. And this is what we love in a What's Working in Ag segment. One, it doesn't cost our listeners anything. But two, it's potentially going to save them time and money, which is what we preach week in and week out. And guys, we're going to make this easy on you. Is go to farmforprofit.com, and we've got a pop-up right away that takes you right to Growers' website to get signed up. But if they don't want to go our direction, how else, Stephen, can they find you guys?
Yep, our website's very simple. It's just growers.ag, and then you can go to the website and view our solutions, and you'll see the Growers app there, and you can create an account right there. It's literally email address and phone number is all you need to get started. So again, we couldn't have made it easier, and just in terms of how this can help them kind of organize what they're already doing today.
Yeah.
Right. So this isn't like it's not very disruptive. It's just leveraging technology to make what they're already doing today more efficient, more sustainable, more profitable. And that's what we're the most excited about.
Yes, this has been awesome. Remember, listeners, growers.ag, or you head out to the Farm for Profit website. Either way, you're going to find it. It's going to make it easy for you to give it a test. You may not have to do it with a large order to begin with, but play around with it, and maybe by next year you'll be ready to roll. Stephen, this was a pleasure. We thank you so much again for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Tanner.